What's going on, guys, and welcome to Who to Sign For. Now in this series I'm giving you my recommendations on what players to sign for a specific team in career mode. But before we go on, I will say that the signings you'll see aren't designed to be realistic and that the player ratings and potentials may vary depending on what database you're using and how they perform for you during the season. You don't have to follow all the tips. This is really just a set of guidelines to give you a hand if you're stuck for ideas and want some suggestions on what players you could sign for a certain club. This is mainly aimed at those of you out there who may be new to the game and just want some help, or those of you out there who may just be stuck for ideas on what players you could sign for a certain team in career mode. You know, at some point I'm going to learn that off by heart. Since I started this series back in FIFA 16, I've read the same introduction of the script on my phone every single episode. It never changes. At some point I will learn it off by heart. But anyway guys, welcome back to another episode of Who to Sign For, and today we're going to take a look at Manchester United. Yes, Jose Mourinho's Manchester United. So far we've done Arsenal, Chelsea and Leicester. Now we will take a look at the Red Devils from Old Trafford. Now, I do want to say real briefly as well, before we start today's episode, obviously at the end of each episode, I ask you guys to leave me a comment and tell me who you want to see me do next. I get loads and loads of comments, and I appreciate all the suggestions. I really, really do. And for the time being, I'm going to stick with Premier League clubs, but for those of you out there suggesting foreign clubs and other European clubs as well, I will move on to those as the series continues, but for the time being, we're sticking with Premier League clubs, but not before long, we'll look at some big European clubs as well, outside of England. So thank you for the suggestions, but that's why for the time being we're sticking with the Premier League, just because I know more about the clubs obviously coming from England. So Manchester United then is this who to sign for, and hopefully I can give some really good tips on the Red Devils. Now of course Jose Mourinho has taken charge this season of Manchester United. Before him Louis van Gaal, before him David Moyes, and of course before Moyes Alex Ferguson was in charge for so many years, and the United fans have been hoping for a long-term successor for the great Scotsman. Many of them hoping that Mourinho will be that one, and I guess we'll have to wait and see in time in real life. But in this who to sign for, I'm going to give my tips on the team and who to sign and who to bring in. Now the one thing I'll say before we start off is that this is a tremendous Manchester United squad in the game. There's some fantastic players in there and their budget is huge. It's one of the biggest budgets in the game at £102 million. Now as you take a look at their squad, it's got some fantastic players in there, some really, really good talent. You saw their loaned out list. I wouldn't recall any of those players, and also their contract list as well. Some notable players with their contracts that come to the end of the year: Antonio Valencia, Michael Carrick, and of course the main ones, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. There's only one player that has their contract up coming to the end of the year that will give a new contract to, and that is of course the new Swedish striker Zlatan. Let Carrick go, let Young go. Sorry, not let Young go. He's got 2 years left on his contract. Let Valencia go. But as for Zlatan, he signed a one-year deal for United. I'd say keep him here and extend his contract right off the bat. Anyway, their objectives for this season as well, Manchester United, their objectives for the first season in charge with the Red Devils is to win everything. So in the first season, you got to win the Premier League, you got to win the FA Cup, and you got to win the Europa League, as I just dropped my phone on my foot. So you got to win 3 trophies with United. And is that possible with this squad? Well, you see the squad report right there. You see the lineup here as well. It's an awesome team. It's a very, very good team, but it could still be improved on. There's no doubt about that, and it could still get better. Now, my transfer targets for Manchester United, I mean, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of targets I had, and this video is going to be quite long as well. It's going to be about 21 minutes long, which is crazy, and I think the longest who to sign for I've ever done. But there are quite a few targets I want to show you in this video that I would definitely recommend to improve Manchester United's side. Now, when you look to their team, it looks really, really good. In the first 11, not a single player is lower than 80 overall in their position in the first team, but I would still say you can improve some areas, and the main area I'd look at is the right back area. Of course, Valencia has his contract up come the end of the year. You're going to let him go. Darmy has the other right back at 80 overall, 82 potential, but I would look for a new right back, and my recommendation for a new right back, you saw me sign him in the who to sign for Chelsea, it is Serge Aurier of Paris Saint-Germain, the Ivory Coast defender. He would be a fantastic signing. You can try and get him for around his valuation. You shouldn't spend more than £30 million on the guy, and with £102 million in United's transfer budget, I would definitely say he should be your number one target. But not just a right back role, I would look for a new player in for this Manchester United side. I would also look to bring in a new striker as well. Now you might sit there and think, well, they just signed Zlatan. Of course, they got Marcus Rashford, a very good up-and-coming youngster, and of course Wayne Rooney, don't forget, has spent a large part of his career, the most part of his career, playing in a striker role as well. So why bring in a new striker? Well, it's because right now Rashford is 76 overall, not too bad, but you'd like someone to be on the bench as a reliable goal scorer. There are several targets I have, which I just showed you right there, ranging from Lacazette to Dibala to Lukaku, and also Spurs' Harry Kane. Kane. And as you can see, I put in valuation bids for all of these players as Ibra accepted that contract there, and Spurs were the only club that accepted a valuation bid for that player. Now, for Dibala, he's going to cost you the most amount of money, but I would say Dibala is definitely someone to bring in if you're looking for a long-term successor for Zlatan, who has the most potential. But Lukaku has 90 potential, Lacazette has 89 potential, and Harry Kane has 90 potential himself. So when I got this bid accepted of £34.5 million for the 22-year-old, I thought this made a lot of sense to bring him in. Now, naturally, Dibala has the most amount of potential at 92, but Harry Kane is only 2 behind with 90, and for around £34.5 million, a very good striker, because what you need to remember with Manchester United is that right now in the game they're set up as a 4-2-3-1. I never like to change the formation as well in these who to sign fors. Harry Kane is probably not going to be in the first 11 right from the beginning. You're probably going to keep Zlatan there, the new Swedish striker, as your main striker, your main out-and-out striker. Harry Kane, or whoever you decide to bring in, will be coming off the bench in most games, or possibly starting in midweek and cup games. Now, at 84 overall, having him coming off the bench, what a luxury that is as an understudy for Zlatan Ibrahimovic. So with 90 potential, he's the perfect long-term successor for Zlatan as the main striker, and I think for £34.5 million, that makes a lot of sense. Again, you could bring in Lukaku, you could bring in Dibala, bring in Lacazette, but I think Harry Kane will be just as good, and with 90 potential, you're not going to say no. Now, Sergio Aurier, as you can see right there, we did sign him for just over his valuation, only a few £1 million over his valuation, the PSG right back. You saw me sign him in who to sign for Chelsea as well. He starts off 83 overall and has 88 potential, so he has the potential to be one of the best fullbacks in the world when he hits his full potential, and with good player form and training and growth as well, he could possibly exceed that too and get even better. So Sergio Aurier, a great right back to have, slides right into your first 11, takes out Valencia, who is of course going to get sold anyway as his contract is upcoming the end of the year, and of course Darmian will be the backup right back as well, and at 80 overall, 82 potential, backup right back in Darmian, not too bad whatsoever. I also recommend putting a bid for Verratti as well. Now, United have a lot of central midfielders, but one of those has their contract upcoming the end of the year. That's Michael Carrick. I'd recommend selling him if you could. We sold him for, I think it was just under the valuation from Leicester, but as you can see, Verratti I think would be a really good player to bring in as well. He's 85 overall, 23 years old, and of course once you've bought in Harry Kane and Sergio Aurier, you might not have much money left over, but of course you've got to remember you're about to sell 3 players, Antonio Valencia, Michael Carrick, and also another one you'll see in just a moment's time that I decided to try and get rid of as well. So Valencia, as you can see right here, try and get his valuation £8.5 million. Once you bought Sergio Aurier, you don't need 3 right backs, 80 plus overall, and of course Valencia being the oldest one with his contract come the end of the year, it just makes sense to let him go if you can. As you can see there, Carrick's also going to go to Leicester as well. That's under his valuation, but United have so many class central midfielders here already, and I also recommend bringing another one in Verratti as well. With Michael Carrick, you're not going to need him. His contract's upcoming the end of the year. Get him off the wage bill and sell him as soon as possible, and try and raise a bit of cash for him if you can. And as you can see here with Everton, with these sort of players that have their contracts upcoming the end of the year and they're coming towards the latter stage of their career, you might not be able to get valuation for them. So as you can see, we couldn't get valuation with Antonio Valencia, but I asked for £7 million, and I think in just a moment's time you'll see Everton said that was pretty fair game. So no, they didn't. Oh, I was pretty sure I got £7 million for Valencia. Maybe not. Well, it's only £500,000. It's not too bad as Carrick goes there to Leicester for £3.8 million. So again, with these type of players right here, really it's up to you what you want to do. Valencia, 30 years old, Carrick in his 30s as well. Contracts up come to the end of the year. They're both 80 overall plus, so if you want to keep them in your squad and let them run down their contracts at Old Trafford, that's totally fine. But for me, personally speaking, I always recommend that the best thing to do is just try and raise a little bit of money for them right now, because if you've got better replacements in your squad already, and you're going to bring in better replacements as well, like for Valencia, it'll be Sergio Aurier, and for Carrick, it'll be Verratti, you may as well just sell them and just get a little bit of cash for them if you can. But still, once Valencia got sold to Everton and Carrick went to Leicester as well, we could offer Verratti a contract. It will cost me £45 million to bring in the little Italian, but he's an awesome player. Just 23 years old, already 85 overall, and Verratti, like Harry Kane, has 90 potential as well. Now, of course, United don't really need a new central midfielder, but I'd still recommend it regardless. If you're going to play the 4-2-3-1, what a fantastic partnership that would be for many years to come. Marco Verratti, and of course the new man, the big money signing, Paul Pogba as well. Got my words muddled up there. Marco Verratti and Paul Pogba. And again, Verratti with 90 potential. I think he'd be a really smart signing, despite the fact United have quite a lot of class central midfielders already. So once you sold Michael Carrick, once you sold Valencia, bring in Sergio Aurier, bring in Marco Verratti, have the PSG boys as replacements, they would be really smart signings. Now, I do want to show you this real briefly as well before we move on. After that signing of Verratti, I thought all of my money had gone. And you may be wondering what's going on here. I've got a little bit more money in my transfer budget right now of around £20 million. Now, I think that's because we bought a star player in Verratti, 85 plus, and the board gave us some more money because we hit one of our off-the-pitch objectives come the start of the season, which is to earn £170 million from shirt sales already. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, because I don't think I've signed a player that is sort of like a star signing for shirt sales to raise the money there with that objective, but I think that's how I got me extra money. So if you're wondering where my extra money came from there, don't worry, I wasn't cheating. I didn't use the financial taker or anything like that, but I think it's because I got the player's shirt sales objective met, and because of that, we got a lot of money for Verratti selling an awful lot of shirts, being a new star player at United. I think the board decided to inject a little bit more money into my transfer budget, so how about that? We were already at £102 million to start with, now we've got even more money. Still, we have bids there for Ashley Young and Marouane Fellaini as well. Now, Ashley Young is another player who I'd recommend selling from Manchester United. He only has 2 years left on his contract. He's in his 30s. He's going to start decreasing in stats straight away. 79 overall. You don't need him. I'd recommend selling him. And of course, if you do get a little bit more money, like I did as well, you can look to replace him and bring in a replacement winger for him. One of Bernardo Silver or Gerard Deulofeu would be a really good replacement, in my opinion, for the experienced English winger. Deulofeu, of course, playing for Everton, Silver from Monaco. Both very young, both 81 overall, and both of them have 88 potential as well. So Deulofeu or Silver, both would make a lot of sense. You'll pay around the same amount of money for them as well. And as you can see, Everton rejected our bid for the former Barcelona winger Deulofeu, but Monaco did accept our bid for the Portuguese winger Bernardo Silva. A valuation bid of £20 million. As you can see here with Fellaini as well, I was trying to sell him too, as Young went to Leicester for £7 million. Hoffenheim came back to us and said to give us £9 million for the Belgian, and I'll discuss that in a bit more detail in just a moment's time. But for Bernardo Silva though, for £20 million, what a bargain he would be. 22 years old, 81 overall. And when you think about it, with the depth United have, this guy's going in your resis. How about that for a new signing to improve your areas in depth? He's going into your resis despite having 88 potential and being 81 overall. That just shows you the depth that United have is absolutely crazy, and it gets even stronger when you make these type of signings. So as you can see right here as well, after the contract there, I put in a bid for Fabinho as well, the Monaco defensive midfielder that can also play right back. He's 22 years old. Sadly, I didn't have the scout report completed on him as we were coming towards the end of the transfer window, and this was on deadline day as well. But for Fabinho, I think I picked him up for around £18 million in total. He starts off at 79 overall, but he has 87 potential, so 8 growth, and being a player that has the central defensive midfielder and right back role listed in his positions as well, he'd be a really smart pickup, because when you look at his stats, he could play pretty much anywhere in the defensive positions. He looks like a really, really awesome player. As you can see, I decided to let Fellaini go to Hoffenheim as well, as we were going to bring in Fabinho, who's one rating higher, several years younger, has more potential, and makes more sense as he's on a lower salary as well. So Fellaini will go to Hoffenheim, a German club, as Monaco rejected our bid for Fabinho there. Again, I think I paid about 18 million pounds for Fabinho, but the Brazilian is 22 years old. He's a defensive midfielder listed in the game, but again, this guy, when you take a look at his stats in just a moment's time, when you see we eventually do manage to sign him, he looks like he could play anywhere. And as a utility man, I love utility players in career mode. I love players who can just play anywhere, and Fabinho is definitely one of those in my opinion when you look at his stats. Still, I did manage to sign Bernardo Silva then for £20 million, a valuation bid as well. Again, he would be just an absolutely unbelievable sign for £20 million. You take a look at his stats right here, 81 overall, 22 years old, and his valuation shot up as well after we signed him too. And with 88 potential, this guy can play through the middle as well. What an absolute bargain that is. And I would say, of all the signings I made in this Who to Sign For, that's got to be up there as one of the best. And he's one of the players that were going to the resis as well. But anyway, for Fabinho, as you can see, we're putting a new bid here for the Brazilian. Hopefully, Monaco would accept this one. Again, I think it was £16 million or £17 million. It was about that. But again, he'll be an awesome pickup, especially once you sell Fellaini to Hoffenheim as well, as a new defensive midfielder that can also play in a range of other positions as well. Now, as you see the final signings signings we make here for Manchester United. In the end, we got Fabinho for £16 million, so a little bit less than I remembered. And also as well, I decided to bring in 3 more players to the Manchester United squad as well. Now, I'll just come out and say this as we come towards the end here, because a lot of you guys will be wondering what on earth I'm doing with these final 3 signings. But basically, I realised I still had a little bit more money left on my transfer budget. I made like 4 signings on transfer deadline day after this Fabinho one, I should say, with this Fabinho one here as well. So 3 other signings along with the Fabinho one. I gotta say, like, I kind of just did this because I thought I've got the money, so why not do it? Now, this is up to you whether you want to buy these 3 players that I bought or not. I would probably say it's not worth it unless you plan on doing a really long save with United. But if you're someone that wants to be a long-term successor for Sir Alex Ferguson, of course, once he left, David Moyes was supposed to be the chosen one, never worked out. Louis van Gaal didn't really work out. And of course, Jose Mourinho as well. He could be the real successor for Sir Alex Ferguson. But if you're going to do a career mode here with Manchester United and take over at Old Trafford, and you want to do a really long save and try and emulate the success that the great Sir Alex Ferguson had, then basically these 3 signings could help. But if you only plan on doing a short-term career mode with them, only 1 or 2 seasons, then it's not really worth it. They won't cost you much money regardless, either way, so it's not really too big of a deal. But the only reason I did this is because I was thinking about the long-term future of Manchester United, and if I was to do a proper long-term save with a club and with this club, then these are 3 players I'd possibly recommend bringing in. Those 3 players are Tammy Abraham, Svila, and also Henriks as well, Benjamin Henriks of Bayer Leverkusen. Now, of course, these are 3 youngsters, and all of them start off in the 60s for overall, but all of them have fantastic growth. Tammy Abraham, of course, the on-loan Chelsea striker at Bristol City right now, tearing things up at Ashton Gate, 69 overall, but 85 potential. Svila, 63 overall, but 83 potential. Henriks, 66 overall, 82 potential. So Henriks and Abraham have 16 for growth, and for Svila, he has 20 for growth. Now, that is absolutely amazing. These youngsters are going to grow and grow and grow, and if they get first team football, probably quicker than they normally would, but they'll still grow in your resis as well, as backed up by the final squad report as well. So we spent a few £1 million on these 3 players. I think it was about £4 million in total, correct me if I'm wrong there. But these 3 players I brought in for United at Old Trafford. And again, I'll just come out and say it. These are 3 players who you don't really need to sign. They won't cost you much money. But I just decided to do it because I had a little bit of money left over. And I thought, why not, basically? If the cash is there, I may as well spend it. And of course, if I'm thinking about a long-term career with United, then why not have 3 awesome youngsters in the game? So in total, we spend £146.3 million on 8 new players. A record in this series for most amount of money spent in the transfer window. £146.3 million, and when you take a look at Manchester United squad, it is absolutely awesome. I definitely feel like it's been improved. We've shipped on some old players that have their contracts expiring. We've got rid of some deadwood like in Ashley Young as well, and it just looks like an amazing team. You know, it really does. It's got young talent. It's got great growth from those young players. It's got good players coming into the first team straight away, such as Sergio Aurier and Marco Verratti. It's an incredible team. It's absolutely amazing. And despite spending so much money on those players, I really do believe that they would be worth picking up for a Manchester United career. So as per usual, we simulate to the end of the season to see how Manchester United got on. Of course, their objectives at the start of the season on the pitch was to win all 3 of the competitions they were in. So the Premier League, the FA Cup, and also the Europa League as well. Well, they managed to meet the league objective by winning the Premier League, and they also picked up the Community Shield as well at the start of the season. Not in the board objectives or too important, but still kind of nice to win a little bit of extra silverware. However, I will be honest here with Manchester United, we failed the FA Cup objective, and quite embarrassingly so as well. They didn't even make it onto the tournament tree, knocked out by West Ham in a round of 32 stage, so that was kind of embarrassing. Totally failed that objective, willing to hold my hands up. I definitely didn't do well enough to clearly go further in the FA Cup like you'd expect this United side to do. However, they did win the Europa League, so technically, I mean, this is kind of an obscure thing to say, because it's not really a proper treble, if you will, but it is a treble. It is a treble. It's a Premier League, it's a Community Shield, and a Europa League as well. I mean, I'll be honest, it's not quite as good as the famous treble they won back in '99 with the Premier League, the FA Cup, and of course that dramatic Champions League win as well. And Solskjaer has won it. Can't ever forget those words by Clive Tildesley, but it's still a treble. It's still a treble in the first season, and with £146.3 million spent, yes, of course, I failed an FA Cup objective with United, no doubt about that. They they couldn't get through in a simulation even onto the tournament tree. But I would still say, if you were to ask Manchester United fans whether they would say that's a satisfactory first season in charge, well, it's not a domestic treble, but it is a treble, a Premier League, Community Shield, and Europa League as well. Not really the treble they would want, but still a treble regardless. Would they take that in the first season? I would say yeah. I would say they'd definitely take that, at least in my opinion. Feel free to let me know if you're a United fan, you wouldn't be satisfied with that. But I think most United fans would absolutely think that's a brilliant first season. A treble, and even though it's not the famous treble, it's not the one you want to win, it's still 3 trophies won in the first season, including their first Premier League title since the Sir Alex Ferguson years. And of course, this Who to Sign For was about spending a lot of money and bringing in some great young players to add to the really good talent you have already. This Manchester United side would be ready to take over England, I do believe, as the years go by, with the amount of great players you sign. I really do firmly believe that you can become dominant in England once again since the glory days of Sir Alex Ferguson. And I also believe with the young talent you're buying in, you could have a long-term successful series with Manchester United and a great save at Old Trafford. But that is who I would sign for a Manchester United career mode, guys. £146.3 million worth of players, loads of new signings, but I really do believe they'll be worth buying for a long-term Manchester United career. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you have enjoyed it. If these tips did help, then please do leave a like, and of course don't forget to let me know in the comment section down below what team you want to see next. So thank you for watching. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to comment, and I'll see you for the next episode of the Who to Sign For series very soon.